Hey guys, how's it going? In this video, I'm going to walk through iterators. I'm going to walk through what it is and how can we build one iterator object by ourselves. And at the end, I'm going to walk through two coding problems that where we have an opportunity to build two iterator objects by ourselves. Without further ado, let's dive in. So first thing, what it is. So a Python iterator, as the name suggests, is an object that allows us to walk through or loop through the content inside that iterator. So let's take a look at the example over here. So we are given a list. Let me zoom in a little bit. So 1, 2, and 3, right? And you don't write on the code because I will share the content or this code, the Google Colab in the description down below in the link. So we are given a list 1, 2, and 3. And then we can pass the list to a Python built-in function iter, and which will return a object iterator. I call it a iter, and then we can apply a method next to the iterator, and then we will walk through or iterate each contents of the list that we pass in. So let's run it. So as you can see, there's an error at the end, and we can prevent that. I'm going to walk through how can we prevent this error at the end and later in the next example. But first thing, let's walk through this example in detail, right? So we have three elements, 1, 2, and 3 in the list. And when we call the next function, right, the first call return a number, which comes at the beginning. And then the next call of the next, we walk through, we return the next element, which is 2. And then the next call will return the third element. And then at the end, because we run out of elements, that's why we have an error, which is a legitimate error, right? So we basically Python is complaining that we don't have any more element to walk through. So it's called stop iteration. Okay, so this is one way to build or to construct a iterator, right? So another one is use the Dender method. We can have a double underscore and iter. So here, basically it's doing the same thing, right? So this is the same function. Double underscore iter, we call that method on this list, and then we return a iterator object, right? It's exactly that. But this is a little bit cleaner way to do for me. So I mean, you can whichever makes sense to you. So as you can see, there's an error that may be annoying, right? So a way to prevent this error to pass in a default value when we run out of element to walk through. So to do that, let's look at this example, right? Exact same list that we pass in, and then we turn back an iterator. And now instead of a only call the next method on the iterator, and now we have another parameter. I put it as a $sign. You can put whichever default value that you would like. I put a $sign. You can put a hash or whatever you like. And then at the end, when we walk through the end of the list, and there will be pop up the default value, which is $sign. If we keep calling this method after we finish all the elements, and then this element this default value will become up. Okay, so this is how we can prevent this an error, right? Sometimes this error will be annoying for our program because it stop the whole thing, and this won't. Okay, and then now I'm gonna walk through with you how we can build our own iterator. And as I said before, I'm gonna after I walk through this simple example with you, I'm gonna give you two coding challenges that you can code it yourself. And also during the video, I will walk through my solutions as well, but feel free to pause during. Okay. So this is the example that I'm going to give you. And we are building a range iterator object, right? So we have a starting point. And before walk through the code, let me show you what we will get at the end. Okay. I think this is more intuitive. So what this object does for us was we build the object by using this line. So I call it my range, which is object, is the instance of this object. And the range comes between 1 and 3. And then we keep calling this object by using the next method. We'll apply the next method on this object. Okay, so because the range is 1 and 3, so the first 3 times you just return the regular natural number 1, 2, and 3. And at the end, because we reach out at the end of the range, that's why this should be a message that pops up end of range, end of range, end of range, etc. Or we can just have a error message as the one that we saw before, right? This one, stop iteration. So this is what we're going to build, and I'm going to walk through the code. So here's the code, and we have we first, as we normally build a same as how we normally build a object. So we first have a init function which initialize the object that we're building, and we pass the self, which is the object itself, as an argument. And for this particular object, we have a starting point and also have an end point. So self.start is equal to start, self.end equal to end, which accept all the 2 input arguments. And also we have the current index to keep track of where we are. Because when we hit the end point, so we will return a end of range message, right? And this is a bit unique to the iterator object. So when we want to build the iterator object, we have to have this building function. So it is it's a standard method for iterator, and then we pass in the object itself, and at the end, after we execute this function, we return the only execution, just return the object itself, and this will transform this object into a iterator. And after that, after we transform it to be iterator, and what we can do is to call the next function that we saw earlier, right? And the next function is pretty simple, right? It's just only need, I mean, in terms of arguments, it's pretty simple. It's only need 1 argument, which is the object itself, right? And if the current index is smaller than or equal to the end index, and then we can so this is the case where we are within the boundaries, okay? And then we have the current number, which we will return, right? We save it by assign this current number on this self.current index. And then after we save that number, which we will return, and then we will increase the index by 1 each time we call this next method. And else means that the current index is greater than the end index, and we can either raise and stop iteration. This is the error message that we saw earlier, or just return a more user-friendly message, which is not an error, just saying, oh, we reached the end of the range. Okay, yeah, so this is an example for how we can build an iterator. And next, I'm going to provide you, as promised, I'm going to provide you 2 coding examples that you can practice yourself. And also, and at the end of the video, I will provide my solutions as well. So this is the first coding challenge, and we need to code up a prime number generator. And how many we need? We need 10 prime numbers, starting from the first prime number, which is 2, and then we keep calling this method, the next method on this object until we reach to the end, right? So let's go down, limit reached. There's a message, right? So how many prime number? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 in total. Okay. So to give you a little hint, there's a formula that we can search on Google. This is help us to generate generate the prime number. So with the first 2 elements, which is the 2 prime numbers, which is 2 and 3, And after that, every prime number can be written in the form of 6n plus 1, where n is a natural number. And then, yeah, I think this formula can be helpful. So at this point, feel free to pause the video and try yourself, and I will showcase my solution. Okay, so this is how I would do it, right? I call it a prime generator. You can call it whatever name you like for the object. And we have an init function that takes in a self, which is the object itself. Also, n is the how many prime numbers that we want, right? And then we have the counter, keep track of where we are. Same as before, we have this default function for iterator, right? Then the iterator function takes in the self and then return self. So as simple as that. And after that, after this function which transform the regular object into iterator, we can call the next function on it, right? This formula is what we talked about, right, on the Google search, right? So the first two prime number will be always 2 and 3, and the rest will be 6k plus 1, where k being the natural numbers. Okay. So if self.count, which is this property, if that's equal to 1, and we can return the first prime number, which is 2 over here, at the same time before returning, and we return the counter by 1, so we can execute for the next it's going to be useful for the next iteration, next call on the next method. Okay, same as the second prime number, which is the 3. Okay, increase the counter, return the second prime number, and then next one, what we're going to do is just apply this formula, right? Because in this if statement, if we are in this for if statement, the counter is already greater than or equal to 3, right? So this one captures the counter of 1, counter of 2, and this will be greater or equal to 3. So that's why with the minus 2, to bring back the index will be 1 times 6 plus 1, right? That's the prime number we're gonna return at the after the within this if statement. At the end, also don't forget to increase the counter as well as all the other two cases. If we reach the limit, that means self.count that is greater than self.end. Remember, just a reminder, self.end is exactly how many parameters we need, and then we can either raise an error, raise stop iteration, or just return a more user-friendly message saying that the limit reached. So this is one challenge. So I'm gonna give you the second challenge. So this is another iterator object, right? I call it word separator. Okay, and we are given a sentence. Okay, hi Tom, and what we need to return is whenever we not hitting the space or the period, we will return a star, right? When we scan through this sentence, and the number of stars is equal to the length of the word, right? So example, hi, which has 2 characters, and then we have to return the 2 stars, and then when we hit that, the space, and then we return a hi as a word, which is the first word of the sentence. And the next word will be Tom, right? And then Tom has 3 characters, right? So we have to return 3 stars, and then when we hit the period, and then we will return Tom as a word. And after that, if we keep calling the next method, and then we'll just a message saying this is the end of the sentence. Okay, and this is the second and last challenge. And feel free to pause the video at this point and try yourself. I'm going to show my solution. Okay, so this is my solution. This is how I would do it. And we have a object called word separator, and also we have an init function, and text in the object itself, also a sentence, right? I call it a send, and also self.length, which is the length of the sentence, also the index that we keep track of the character, right? Of the not the character of the sentence. So the index starts from 0, for example, over here, index of 0, 1, 2, etc. So we know that where we are. Okay, and also the word, self.word is the word that we will return when we hit the either space or a period. Okay, and same as before, in order to construct an iterator, we will have this function, this standard iterator function, takes in itself, return itself, and after that we can call the next method, right, which takes in itself, and if the index that we are at right now is equal to the length. The reason why it's not length minus 1 is because when it's equal to the length, we are already, that's the point where we end, right? If it's index minus 1, we are still at the last character, right? And then this is the message that we will you saw before, right? So this is the message that will pop up, or we can raise and stop iteration error. Okay, so that's the terminal condition, and this is the condition where we return the word, right? Either it's a space or is a period, right? So if the index, if the sentence at that index is equal to, so like we basically look at that character, is that's a space or a period, and a word that we will return, we grab it from the self.word property, and then we increase the index for the next call, and then we empty. So after we save this word that we will return, we empty this word property. Okay, and this is one condition, and else meaning that we are not at space nor at the period. What we're gonna do, we just keep collecting, expand the word, right? So basically we will scan through age, and then we concatenate the I, right? And when we this word, we concatenate the T, concatenate the O, concatenate the M, right? Because the default would be an empty string. Also, after we return it, each time we will make the property as a default again, which is an empty string. And then after that, we will keep concatenating all the character, and this is what we're doing over here. Basically, we're concatenating by using a plus sign, right? At the same time, don't forget to increase the index for the next iteration of the call. And at the same time, when we scan through all these characters, we will return the star, right? This is exactly what you see. So this is the end of this video, and I hope you like it and learn something. And remember, don't trust me, try yourself. Thank you so much for watching.